what up, y'all? This is your boy MTH. So I'm back with another second episode on our crash course JavaScript. So let's just recap for a bit. We learned about variables, JavaScript variables. That we have different types of variables. We use the let key, the let keyword, the var keyword, or the const keyword, which is those three data types. We can use let to change or store data that might change in the future, and the var keywords work similarly with both of the functionalities. You can either have a value that you don't want to change or you want to change later. So maybe if you are not sure, you can use the var keyword. And then the const is for a strict value that does not change once being declared. If you want to see examples of that coding, just go to the previous video. Okay, so let's go to the current video. So sorry about that. Okay, so data types. Data type in JavaScript is basically the form in which that value is in. Either it is a string or boolean or many more. But mostly we use the 7 data types that are familiar or mostly used most of the time, which is a string, number, boolean, undefined, null, object, and array. So I'm just going to show you examples on that one, and then we're gonna jump into programming. Doing examples. So in this data types example, we've got a string, right? Right here, the string. A string can be identified as long as you have codes. So it doesn't matter which codes, either a single quote ending with also a single quote, right? But you can't have a single quote ending with a double quote, because it's gonna skip that, and then it's expecting the single quotes to end that string, right? And then on the next line, you can see you've got the double quote and then JavaScript text, and also the ending of a double quote. So you don't have to mix those two. If you want to stick with a single quote, you just use that instead of mixing up those two. But I'm gonna show you in the example in terms of maybe if you wanna make use of a quote, something in English how they use the possessive, like toes, laptop or something. But I'll show you. And then we've got a number data type, right? A number, it explains itself. It's either 12, 20, 10, 9, 8. That's a number, and then it is recognized as a number data types. And then we go to a boolean. A boolean is either true or false, nothing more, nothing less. It ends there, so it's either a true or false value. You don't have to have code here, because true or false is already reserved on the JavaScript library. Even on the numbers, you don't have to add quotes or single quotes or double quotes. So yeah, let's go to the other examples, the ones that are remaining. Yeah, I think these are the ones that are remaining. Which is undefined. It's exactly as it is, undefined. It does not have quotes or nothing. And then we have null, which is also similar to undefined. It does not have quotes. And then an object. An object, it consists in a key value pair that is wrapped on curly brackets, right? So as you can see, this is called the key, and then this is called the value. The trick here is that the value can be anything depending on the previous data types that we had, either null, undefined, or a number or a string. So in this in case I've used strings. So as you can see, this is an object. And then an array again. Array stores a collection of data. So it's either it stores all the undefined, null, object, string, number. You can store all of that in here because you store what, a collection, right? So yeah, let's jump straight to the code, right? Okay. I'm just gonna remove all of this, and then click on go live. start the server. Starting here. Your name is okay. We're not gonna use that currently. We just use the console, right? Console. Because we are exploiting the data types, right? And then, you know, I'm gonna use a built-in function called type of in JavaScript, just to prove to you in terms of it is in fact a string or a number, you know, or a boolean or a null value. So we'll be using variables. So if you don't have any clue in terms of what variables is, just go to the previous video of JavaScript crash course and then you'll find it there. So we'll try the first one. I think it's string. Yes, it's string, right? So I'm gonna use the variable keyword, you know, the var keyword, and then I'm just gonna declare name, and then I'm gonna use a single quote, and then I'm just gonna say it's JavaScript, you know, and then to show to you in terms of this is in fact you know, a string. I'm gonna just say console.log what type of, right? We just type type of, and then we type the name that we want to check, which means this is the variable that we want to check, right? And then if we go to the browser, control save, if we go to the browser and then we refresh, as you can see it's written string. I'm not sure if you can see that visibly. It has string, right? And then let me try and show you why we don't wanna, you know, mix these two up, right? As you can see, it does not recognize this as the closing code. So each and every time you make sure that a code that you started with, you end with it. Because if you can check, if I end it with this one, it's gonna print all of this stuff, right? If I go to the browser and then click on refresh, it still gives me what, a string, right? And then now if we wanna just use, you know, the possession of something, you know, like tools, laptop, right? You remember, if we have a single quote, it's gonna end our string here, and then it's gonna leave out all of this text, and then we're gonna get an error. And then if you go to the browser, there should be an error, right? You know why it's still saying a string, right? And then this is here a string. It's because we ended it here, and then it's not recognizing the other text, you know. But if you want to escape this, use the backslash to escape this, to tell this, you know what, ignore this single double quote right here, so that we are using the possession of something in English, you know, like yeah, I hope you get it. Yeah. And then if you go to the browser, there's no error. It's showing you know, everything clearly, and then we don't have, you know, that messy you know, layout. But sometimes the trick that if you don't wanna use this, just use a double quote at the first of your sentence and edit with the double quote, so that you don't have to put in a backslash here. And then if you go to the browser, right, and then it should be sorted, right? That is a string in a nutshell. So let's just say maybe I want to combine text, right? We can combine text with the plus symbol, right? And then let's just say I've got you know, the course that I'm doing. I can just say, you know, JavaScript, you know, and then change here, and then maybe ask a question. I'm just gonna call this question, and then question, maybe what are you currently learning, right? And then I'm gonna put a question mark there and then a space, and then if you console.log, those two values right there, the question and the course, right? And then we go to the browser, control save, go to the browser. As you can see, it says string, and then what are you currently learning, and then JavaScript, right? But in real life, they won't be on the same line or the same sentence. Just to show you what I mean, let me just console the question only, right? And save that. Let me just enable auto save, right? And then go to the browser. As you can see, it says what are you currently learning, you see. And then if you want to add those two together, and then check the type of value of those two, we will have to, you know, create another variable, right? And then I'll say like statement, you know, sorry about that, statement, you know, is equals to I would like to combine the question with what, with the course, right? The course. So we use the plus symbol to add two strings, right? And then we're just gonna say statement right here instead of printing, you know, and then statement. As you can see, if you go to the browser, it says it's a string, and then what are you currently learning? JavaScript, right? And then let's just say we wanna also, you know, put in the statements, add another maybe text, you know. You can manually type that in here and then just say just gonna say hooray, you know, anything, you know, and then make a space here, and then if you go to the browser, JavaScript hooray, you know, something like that, you know. It's up to you. That is how you would combine string, and then that is how you would work with a string. There are strings built-in function, you know. There are built-in functions, but I'm not gonna show you all of them because they are a lot. Truly speaking, you just have to, you know, do your own research. And then we can, you know, index, something called indexing, you know, which is getting a value on a specific, you know, in a specific area or location. It's sort of like a location, like for example, if you wanted only W, right? In real life, you would say the first character, you want the first character, which is W, right? But on the programming world, one is not the first, you know, the first number start with a 0. So if you wanted this value only to print out this value, which is W, you'll have to use what you call 0, right? And then let me just remove the type of and then remove the statement, right? And then we are doing the indexing, right? And then we have to use what you call the square brackets, and then target the first item in our statement, which is the question, which is right here, and which is the W, right? If we go to the browser, as you can see, it prints W. And then just to prove to you that 0 is a number, if we just say 1, on a real world situation, W will be at position 1, right? But on the programming world, it starts with 0. 0 is actually a number, and it's a valid number. As you can see, when I use 1, it brings H, right? It brings H, which is you know, it's 1 in the programming language, and then in real world, it's the second character, you know. And what's the other one? You know, I don't want to use the split methods and whatnot, because it's gonna lead to you won't understand it, because it will bring you to, you know, to learning about arrays, which is in the future, you know. So for now, we'll just end it right here on strings, right? let's go to what you call numbers, right? And then we want to have a number. It's equals to 10. I love 10. And then console.log type of, right? And then type of num. If we go to the browser, as you can see, it says it's a number, right? So it recognizes that as a number, right? And then what you can do with the number, let's say we want to combine a number with a string, right? Let's just move our variable to the top, right here to the top, so that you can, instead of saying hooray, we're gonna add the number to our sentence. Let's say we want to add that, right? And then to add that, all you have to do is just say num, and then we're gonna just say, instead of saying type of num, we're gonna say statement, right? Statement. And then what JavaScript does is that it takes this number and then converts it into a string. So when it converts it into a string, it will look like something like this. This is no longer a number. It recognizes it as a string. So if you go to the browser and then view, as you can see, it says a string, because JavaScript has converted that into a number. Once you add the number and a string together, which means combining the two, the value will change to what? To a string. So yeah, and then we can do calculations, but a fair warning, you cannot do calculations with a string inside. So for instance, let me just remove this and remove this. Even if you start with a number and then try to add these together, so I've started with a number and then a string, right? As long as it has a string inside, it will change the number to what? To a string. As you can see, it still recognizes it as a string, right? And then we can combine numbers. I'm just gonna say 10 plus 5. It should give me a number, type of number. And then if you control that value, console.log, if we show that value, and then we say statement. Oh, sorry about that. And then we say statement, right? And then we go to the browser, we should be able to see the number, which is 15, right? Because we have added those two. So as you can see, we can perform calculations such as multiply, add, subtraction. This is multiply in JavaScript, and then which is 50, which should make sense. And then we can even minus, and divide, which is 5, right? 10 minus 5 makes sense, simple calculations. And then which one I've not done, I think it's divide. Okay, sorry. So this is the divide symbol, and then if we go to that, and then it's 2, which is true. Yeah, and then that is like numbers. You can perform calculations. You can even perform complicated calculations, and then add 2, and then plus, and then add brackets, and then maybe just say 2 times 2, and let's just say, so 16, right? 16. It can program calculations and whatnot, but what it does not do is indexing. Just like before, if you want to index a string, you'll have to use the square brackets and the position in terms of where the character you want, which character you want. If you want W, you'll have to use 0. If you want H, you'll have to use 1, right? And then let's go to the next one. I think it's a string number, boolean. Okay, boolean, I think it speaks for itself, which is true or false, right? Nothing much, nothing more, right? I think it's true. As you can see, boolean, true. So there's not much you can do, but it is useful on your if statement, right? It is very useful on that part, but generally you won't use it like this, like the way I'm doing it, you know. And then we move on to what is this? Okay, so undefined is same with boolean. There is nothing much that you can do. I can just say undefined, right? And then we go to the browser, and then it says undefined. You cannot do much with it, but if you wanna check, you just declare a variable, and then not assign it. And then if you go to the browser, it still shows undefined, which means this variable has not been defined. And then going to null, right? And then null is same with undefined, which means there's nothing there. Data type will be obviously an object, and then obviously it will return a null value, which is that data type, right? So that is how you would have null value. You know So the remaining ones, I think, oh, it's object. Yes. Moving on to object, right? And then you just put in your curly brackets, right? After your curly brackets, an object consists of a key value pair, right? You'll have to have those two, a key and a value pair, right? They go in pairs, which means two. You've got a key and a value, right? The key is what you use to index your value, right? Let me just say course, and then you'll have to use this symbol right here, which is the dot, column. And then after that, it's up to you if you want to use a string data type or a null data type, right? It's all up to you, but I'm just gonna use a string. The ones that we've learned before, you can assign them inside of an object, right, on your value. So which means it's sort of like a variable stored in an object, right? I'm gonna store JavaScript, JavaScript, and then if I say console.log statement, right, and then go there, and then as you can see, it says object, and then it shows a course, which is JavaScript. And then you can use a variable if you don't want to manually type that. If you have declared it on a variable, you can just type course without using codes, because it's already defined here. And then if you go to the browser, nothing changed, so yeah. And then the reason why we use objects, maybe we want to group certain data that has similar characteristics. Let me just say you've got a user, and then you've got a user data such as the age, name, surname, height, gender. And then you would sort of, let me just make an example. User 1, this is the first user, and then name, which is mtho, and then to add another key value pair right there, you just have to use the comma, and then age, which is 20, and then gender, it's what made, right? And then you can also have object of object, right? And then like I want to say physical appearance, okay, physical, and then we can also store what you call what you are learning about currently, which is an object, right? And then it has height. I've got it a height. Maybe just say I don't know my height. Don't judge me. So I'm just gonna say something like this is just a random feature. A random number, and then the body type. I don't even know the body types. You tell me in the comments. Clueless. you know um, let me just change body type. Type, right? And then this is how you have it. And then if you want to format it, and then if maybe let's just say you've got another user, and then you would store that to be user 2, and then it should also have their own details in terms of name, age, whatsoever. So that is the reason why we have that. And then let's just learn about indexing in terms of grabbing each value and then printing it to the browser. But for now, let me just change this, Control D, and then just say user 1, right? And then we're done. If we go to the browser, and then as you can see it says object, and then as you can see it has an object inside again, which is the benefits of object, right? And then here's a trick, right? You can use the dot not you can use the dot to reference your value, and then you need to write what you call a key. So for us to grab a name, right, and then you just say dot name, right, if you want to console the name. And then if you want to check the value type of that name specific, so we are no longer referencing the whole object, right? And then dot name, right? And then if I go to the browser, it should print string too. So it's no longer showing the whole scope of the object. We are focusing on a key value that is inside of our object, which is in this case a string, right? And then let's change that. Let's just say age, right? If you want to grab age and then check its type of, and then print age again, right? And then number, it's obviously 20, and then as you can see it's a number data type. And then if we jump into physical, right, we want to check what kind of data it is, and then we type that physical, and then physical, right? And then we go to the browser, and then it should say object because we've got an object inside there. So that is why we have key, and then we've got their values. So to reference that, we can use the key, right? And then another way to reference your value inside of an object is to also use what you call the square bracket, right? Remember last time when we were referencing a string, we used numbers. So this time we won't use numbers, we use strings to reference that. So I'm just gonna type name and then copy this and then paste it here. You'll see that it does the same thing, which is print string too. And then if we change that, right, and then type age, right, and then go to the browser, as you can see it says number, and then change that to what? Physical, right? Physical, and then as you can see it says object, and then you've got an object inside. Okay, so that is object in a nutshell. So let's jump into arrays, right? I'm gonna have and then that's gonna call this array, right? And then I'm just gonna duplicate these two, so I'm generally gonna have two users, right? I've got two users right here, and this is user 2, and then I should call this Jack, and then Jack is a little bit older than me, it's a male, everything can remain the same, and then now here we can type user 1, right, and then comma user 2, right? So I'm using variables instead of manually typing those things in there on the array, but you can manually type them. It's up to you, you know. But I just wanna, keep it as simple as I can, and then I'm just gonna wrap this and then type in it what is which is an array, right? Which is, we wanna say type of array, and then which is, okay, it says an object, so it's an array of objects, right? But if I remove this object and then have values like JS, the number, null, and then undefined, right? So just to keep things simple, because it's gonna confuse you. Okay, right. So it's saying it's an object, which is, confusing, because it's supposed to say, it's an array, right? Let's just remove this and then let's see, right? Okay, it's update. So don't know why it recognizes that as an object, but this is called an array. And I've got all of that, and then to index a value, you have to use the bracket, and then that is where the numbers again come in, sort of like a string, right? I told you in an array or in a string, indexing starts at 0. 0, it's a number on programming, right? And then we say 0, we just want to grab this string right here and then print it out again, and then go to the browser, string JS, so that is an array. You can even have object inside, it's up to you in terms of what you want. That is why I'm saying an array is just a collection of our data. We store all of our data there. I can even add user 1, I can even add a user 2, right? And then if we go to the browser and then print out the full array, right? And then you go to the browser, and then as you can see, it has 7 items inside, and then as you can see, there's our objects inside, undefined, null, 20, and then JS, right? Okay, guys, I think that's it. Let me just confirm if I left anything out. Okay, so I didn't. So thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna see you on the next interesting tutorial. So peace, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.